order. I'll ask, there's no additions, so I'll ask for an adoption of the agenda. Councillor Curry. I always come. Okay, all in favor? Threw me for a loop. Okay, has everyone had a chance to look at the adoption of the previous, any concerns on there? Previous one? Then I'll ask for a motion to adopt the previous minutes. Councillor Fire. Okay, all of those in favor? Opposed, carried. Delegation, we have, I should know his name. From Foothills, it would be Aaron. Do you want to come? Yes, you're up. Oh, no, you missed nothing. There'll be your delegation. Foothills Recreation Management. Do you know everyone at the table? Need an introduction or?
But yeah, I'd like an introduction.
Okay, then we'll start over here then.
Mayor Kevin Zahara, welcome.
Councillor Jackie Curry.
Councillor Troy Sorensen.
And you know me, Councillor Jean Chenard.
Councillor Crystal Beyer.
Independent Trevor Bell. And wish councillors, so.
Jenna Wilkinson.
Okay, and I'll just get you to introduce your name for the
Yeah,
record.
my name is Aaron Jones. I work for West Fraser out of Hinton, and our office manages both of the Hinton and the Edson Mill, as well as the Paul Mill. And so I'm here today because Gene represents council, and he sits on our Edson Forest Products Public Advisory Committee. And at one of those meetings, I was talking about the rec program that that I manage. And Gene was interested in it and was wondering why the town of Edson wasn't part of it, as the town of Hinton is and Yellowhead County is. And so he asked that I come and present some information about the program to council, so that's why I'm here. We manage 28 rec sites that are on or near the Hinton and the Edson Forest Management Area. The operation is funded through an unofficial partnership, which we have a terms of reference for, called the Foothills Recreation Management Association, or FIRMA for short. There you can see all the campgrounds and trail systems. The two that are highlighted are actually like West Fraser campgrounds. We built them and manage them. All the other ones are provincial campgrounds, which we operate in a contract with the government. And I am the one window manager of the program, so we have a bunch of partners, but all the interaction with the government occurs through me and all the management of the partners. So our FIRMA, Foothills Recreation Management Association, the mandate is to provide safe, affordable, and enjoyable rec opportunities. It's to provide Aboriginal employment, especially Aboriginal employment for women. It's to provide the public with information about the partners' core businesses. And so these maps here that I brought, this is just one of the communication tools that we use, and all the partners have a little bit of information about themselves on these maps. We give about 5,000 of those things away every year. But besides the rec map, we have trail maps, we have kiosks at all the campgrounds, all the trails. We have the ability, and we do put posters on all these kiosks talking about our core business and about recreation opportunities in the world, in the area. And we have a lot of signage out there, and then we advertise in the paper and the visitor information guide, things like that. So just an overview, like I said, there's partners that provide funding to West Fraser. So we are the money manager, and then we also enter into the contract with the provincial government for the operation of these campgrounds. Those contracts are usually about 5 years, and then you have to rebid on them again. We subcontract all the maintenance and operation to the campgrounds to Fox Creek Development, which is an Aboriginal owned and operated not-for-profit company in Hinton. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute here, but they do all the cleaning, they collect all the money, all the reservations, everything like that. Deliver firewood, all of that sort of stuff. So how do we fund it? FIRMA started in 2011. West Fraser itself, Hinton, has been managing campgrounds for 30 years, but we got this partnership going in 2011. To begin with, we had Tech Coal, Sherrod at the time, the Coal Valley Mine, Coalspur, the Hinton startup, West Fraser, Yellowhead County, Town of Hinton, and then we got some financing from Payto. And then we had campground revenue. So we had about $340,000 worth of funding. By 2015, we'd lost one of our funders, but our campgrounds are getting more and more popular, so we sort of made that up with campground revenue. So we are funded to about the same amount. And 2018 now, we've lost, Sherritt, which became Westmoreland Coal, we lost them, although they have been giving some money as they can afford it. And we lost Coalspur, now Bighorn. So we lost two revenue sources there. And so what happens is that West Fraser sort of has to make up the difference. So we were going from $40,000 of funding and like me managing it to now this year we'll be around $150,000 of funding. So we're by far the major funders of the thing. So you might be interested in about campground use. This slide here, which you guys have, just gives you an idea of the amount of revenue we've collected in the last 5 years. And that's the bottom line, that's sort of the net cost, so after GST and everything. So you can see in 5 years our revenues went from about 112,000 to 150,000. So these campgrounds are getting more and more popular, especially last year with the parks having free entry and people having a hard time finding somewhere to camp. So some of the cost benefits of the program is over the last, again, 5 years. We hire conservation officers, so we actually, as part of this program, we contract the service to COs out of Hinton, and they do security enforcement on our campgrounds. So we actually are paying money from this program to provincial government to hire extra COs. In 5 years, we put $130,000 worth of upgrades, so that's like new picnic tables, site markers, fire pits, all that sort of stuff. To Fox Creek in the last 5 years, we provided $1.25 million worth of Aboriginal employment. All year they have about 4 people that work on this program, but during the peak season there's about 15. So it provides quite a bit of employment for those guys. And also, I guess I keep in mind that we donate, as well as my time and the money we put in, the firewood. And that firewood isn't free, like you have to get it from the bush and on a truck, and someone has to pay the truck driver and right, all that sort of stuff. So that's $30,000 to $40,000 a year that we pay as well through that. So about Fox Creek, it's not for profit, Aboriginal owned and operated. It's been running this rec program for about 20 years in a big way, and they do all the things that I just talked about there. They also look after all of the trails, so that they're going through there twice a year to make sure trees are not across the trail and stuff like that. Bridges are good, and they do all the major upgrades. So anything like picnic tables, kiosks, wood bins, all that sort of stuff, they do all that. They have a little bobcat so they can do little projects like that. We do a survey about every 5 years. Should be doing one this year. And here's just for some of your information. This is one of the questions that we asked. It was because Yellowwood County was interested in this. What's the percentage of campers that have purchased fuel or supplies in Edson or Hinton? And it's pretty high. It's like over 70% as part of, they're interviewing the people on the campgrounds, and they're saying, where did you spend your money? And there was a large portion of them were from Hinton Jasper. If you look at this graph here, you can see where the users are coming from. So Hinton and Jasper is about 35%, Edmonton and area is about the same, and then the others is mostly from Alberta. Here's another survey question about what did the campers think of our camping fees, which are very, very low. So we're talking about $11 a night, free firewood. So, we asked them what do they think about that, and vast majority of people say it's reasonable.
Well, I bet.
Yeah, but you still have these people over here, right, who are like $11 in free firewood. It's a ripoff. So, and then you have these other, we do a lot of questions, but just to give you an idea that the program is really well liked by the public. So the issues that we sort of have moving forward is looking for additional funding. So we're looking for additional partners, so that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm not going to talk about the second one, it's too complicated, but we do have, like I said, the conservation officer contract. That's about $60,000 a year. And then one of the issues that we're having right now is actually getting enough firewood to supply the campgrounds. you actually have to direct loggers to cut firewood down, bring it to the side of the road, put it on a truck, and then bring it to the right campground or back to town. And so it's like, it's not their core business, right? So it's expensive to do, and we're having challenges with that. So sort of summary, very, very innovative program. We have the Aboriginal Partnership, we have the partnership with parks, the CEOs, and with the town, the county, and a lot of the major employers in the area. So it's the most inexpensive, high quality camping you're probably gonna find. Like the price point thing is very sensitive in these rustic campgrounds that we have. If you wanna charge $20 a night for a rustic campground with no service, and no, people will just go random camp. And that's why we got in the business to begin with, is sort of trying to control some of the random camping by having cheap, safe, affordable, enjoyable rec sites for them to go into. Free, like I said, free firewood. No, you're not finding that anywhere else. Parks is very, very happy with the relationship. They've made a sort of a pretty big effort to direct award us these contracts when they can, which is always problematic with their lawyers, but they really like dealing with it, like us, because we have money to spend on their program. Typically, the ma and pa type operator isn't putting hundreds of thousands of dollars back into the campgrounds, and all that accrues to parks. Like if we decide we're not doing this tomorrow, we can't take all our picnic tables and go home. Right? So everything that we've done, which is well over $1.5 million of improvements, that all accrues to the park. So yeah, I think that's just a summary. Jean was asking me a little bit earlier on about funding opportunities. Right now, we've got a really big program of upgrades, and one of the things that we're doing is we have $300,000 that I got through West Fraser funding to build a mountain bike trail in Hinton. So it's like a 10-kilometer up trail to the Bighorn Ridge, and then a 5-kilometer down trail, and it's stuff like that. Like, and the Beaver Boardwalk and all that sort of, all that stuff was built through these partnerships. So the town is very interested in partnering with us on the Bighorn Trail. The Bike Association is. I guess my point is, right now, we have a lot of funding available right now because of the way that we pay stumpage in Alberta. A certain percentage of the stumpage goes into a fund, which we can then access if we can make a case that it improves the forest resource. And the money that goes into that fund, it's called FRIA, is higher when royalties are higher. So the higher the price of lumber, the higher the stumpage you pay, the more money that goes into this FRIA account. Lumber prices right now are at all-time highs, like literally all-time highs. And so we're putting around $1 million a month into this FRIA program, and that money has to be spent within 2 years of getting it. So we're in a little bit of a situation right now where we have a ton of money, and we're looking for ideas on how to spend it. Wow. And this doesn't happen all the time. Okay, so this is like the forest industry is very cyclical, and we went through a recession where we were barely, mills were shutting down, we were barely surviving, and now here we are at the highest lumber prices we've ever seen. And so there's times when we have no money going into this program, and then there's times when we have tons of money. But the trick is you have to spend it within 2 years. And that's why I was able to get like $300,000 to build a trail on the Bighorn and put another $150,000 into the rec program upgrades, like picnic tables and wind bins and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess I'm interested to know if the town would like to participate in the program. Hinton provides $20,000 or $30,000. I can't remember which one, but it's in here.
It was 20.
20, yeah. Okay, and Yellowhead County's 30. So, as a partner, you would get, we have this rec map that gets redone every couple of years. You get to talk about, like, the town, and Yellowhead County has a little blurb on there. We have a website. All of the documents that we put out, you can have websites on them, and so there's post kiosks to put up. There's lots of different ways that the town can improve its profile with respect to recreation opportunities. So I'm trying not to take too much time here. So
open for questions. Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Thank you for to Councillor Schnarr for asking me to come here today, and I'm very interested in the program. I think it's something that the town of Edson certainly should get involved with. I think we all can agree that I'm sure we could find ways for you to help spend your money. So, why was the group formed? What was
The catalyst for forming this group was that we were running out of funding. So when I said we have so much now, we're looking for ideas. At that time, we didn't have anything. So we went for like about 5 years without putting anything in to the fund. So that meant we were funding it out of our own dollars. And so we were looking for other partners. And it's such a unique program. It was quite an easy sell. Like we went around to the companies and gave them a little presentation, and they were like, hell yeah, that's awesome. Get our brand out there. Like all of the signs up there have the logos of all the partners on them. So like all the campgrounds, all the maps, like, so you are getting your name out there.
We are currently investing quite a bit of money over in Wilmore with our bike park, and one of the things I think we would really like to see is a connection from our community out to Wilmore Park. Is that something that your program might be able to help facilitate?
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Now's the time. So, I mean, there's a good case to be made that we could do something like this in Edson. Like the company has a mill in Edson, right, and in Hinton. So, and there's some funding that I'm talking about. There's an account for the Edson mill and there's an account for the Hinton mill.
Okay.
So the Hinton one is quite a bit bigger than the Edson one because it brings a lot more logs in than the Edson mill does, but still substantial.
Perfect.
Yeah, still things we could partner on.
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Through the chair.
The names are there, I can read them.
Yeah. How many campgrounds does the town of Hinton own?
Town of Hinton, I'm not sure,
Oh,
like 2 or 3. Like the campgrounds that they own have nothing to do with our program.
I see.
Yeah.
So they're just contributing money without any particular, like they're not having their campgrounds managed by your organization?
They've talked to us about that, but as I was talking to you earlier, like running these campgrounds in town is very challenging. Like you have a lot of issues with sort of the people that use them, and security issues and vandalism issues. So yeah, they've approached us, but we're not really interested in that.
Thank you.
Any other? Councillor Wilkinson?
To the chair. First off, thank you very much for coming, and thanks to West Fraser for all the support you're giving. And again, if you can not have as many random campers, I'm sure it's a real plus to the parks with forest fire hazards, etc.
Yeah.
And your idea of the trail out to Wilmore Park is excellent, but I also think Wilmore Park itself is like a wilderness camp in some ways. I mean, it's a campground, but not many services or anything, that possibly there could be upgrades there as well, and the town of Edson owns that. So to me, it's just a real plus if we could join that in. Supposedly, this bike park is, bar none, even better than Hinton's.
Well, I mean, all I can say is there's opportunities here if you guys.
And how do we
want
go
to
about accessing the
Well,
opportunities?
I would like to see you become a partner in
Right,
Irma.
yes.
And then you just deal with me and we'll like put some proposals together. Like it's not hard to get funding to do some of this stuff because it's actually our money and we apply for it and this body free. All they're doing is deciding that we follow the rules. So you can't use this money to do business things. So you can't pay loggers, plant trees, like build roads, bridges, like all that sort of stuff. It has to be something that improves the forest resource, but isn't something that you're required to do. So we do like a lot of thinning, spacing, aboriginal sort of stuff, and then recreation. Yeah.
Excellent, so thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councillor Byer.
Through the chair, just a comment. I know I've lived in the region my whole life, and we've attended some of these campgrounds since I was a child, and I've definitely seen some improvements and upgrades over the years. So it's really nice to see that they're not just getting left unattended, even if they're not the most popular campground. And to just what Councillor Wilkinson said, yeah, I think there's definitely a great opportunity here, and I know a lot of the town of Edson residents use a lot of these parks as well. How often do you add a new facility to your long list?
The last time we did was in 2014. So we added Kinky and Wild Horse Lake, which are right at the beginning of the park there, as you're coming into Jasper, right there. And then we added Rock Lake with 3 or 4 years before that, and then the majority of the campgrounds we got in 2000.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Actually, thank you, Aaron, for coming. So what do we gotta do to sign up? Because, I mean, it's also what you're saying on short term, the granting, but the other thing is important too, like you said, the survey. So we're attracting people here. So, and then we also gotta bear in mind, West Fraser is one of our I think they are the largest employer right close to our town. So we're getting involved with someone that's involved with our town. So the added bonus, there's 2. We're, 20,000 and chance for grants. Of course, in the short term, that makes the most sense, but long term makes sense. So, well, what is our next step? How do we get signed up?
Well, it's not hard.
Okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, it could be as easy as I send you an invoice and then you pay it and then you're signed up.
Perfect.
And yeah, like we have a terms of reference that I can send out to you,
Yeah.
but it isn't, this group FIRMA has no legal standing, so we're not a not-for-profit. It's just a gentleman's agreement that we're working toward these terms of reference. And there's no, so if you decide next year you don't want to participate, then you can just pull out. You're not signing anything that says you have to be part of it for a certain amount of time. It's just very flexible.
Okay. Okay, I think it's good, and thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? No? Okay, thank you for your presentation. You can stay, or you can drive back to Hinton.
I think
before
we'll
it
drive
gets
back to Hinton.
too smoky.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've done department report E. Okay, we're gonna move on to, there's no E, F, let's see, make sure this is right, wait a minute. F1, I believe that would be coat of arms. Is that Steve doing the presentation on this?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm just bringing this back to council. We started this process in early 2017, and it's at the point now where we've been approved for it, but I wanted to make sure and bring this back to this new council to make sure this is still something that you guys wish to participate in.
Councillor Curry.
Just through the chair. So, Steve, if we go through this, would the idea to be to redo all of our branding?
Not all of the branding. What this is just a coat of arms and some similar pieces to that. So it would go on official letters from the office of the mayor. We may look at redoing our flags with the official coat of arms.
And then how far were we on like the actual design of the coat of arms?
There's no design done right now. It's just, we just got approval to move ahead.
If I may, Chair, also add that,
Yes,
yeah, if you look at like the city of Calgary or city of, or many cities, they have their coat of arms that never changes, but their brand will occasionally change every so often, and I think it would be the same. So this brand that we have here, 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, or however long when we're tired of it, we move on to a new one. But the coat of arms is something that would stay the same all the time and be kind of that official emblem that would be maintained. And sorry, Councilor Curley, you had a follow-up
Yes.
question there that
No,
you had
that's
asked,
good.
but you good?
Thank you.
Councillor Byer.
Question through the chair. So would this be something that could go on the new flags that are eventually coming, that would go on like the light posts or something like that? Would it be added to something like that as well, or just
No,
like
that would be
the
more of
single
a
flag poles?
branding thing.
Okay.
Yeah. This would be specifically for like official like letters or
Right.
our official flag, which would never change.
Okay. Yeah, I personally think it's a great tradition to keep on, as well as a source of pride to have something like that for our town. So.
Councillor Sorensen.
Through the chair, I'm not sure who to focus this question to, but we will have, like, this will come back to us, all the decision making in this coat of arms will be ours, or is it this other group, what is it, Canadian Heraldic Authority, do they make any choices?
They are the main authority for this thing, and I would work with that artist to come up with the plan. So I'd give them the history of the town and that sort of thing, and then they would come up with the design.
So the council doesn't have a real say in the colors, or?
The town would work with them in it, and we give them our preferred colors and our preferred, like you'll see on some of the examples there, like they have this horse or the lion, that sort of thing.
I think the end result, if I may too, would have to be adopted by council, so council would ultimately have the ability to adopt it or not, but it's a pretty closely regulate the creation of it. It's not like we draw it and then, you know, it's actually done by this heraldic society or group, and with the information that we would provide them. So council would have the ability to give some preferences in terms of what we provide them, then they would design it, and I think we would have minimal input at that point to say, well, I'll tweak this, tweak that, but it's a, you know, it's kind of a process that's done by this group.
Okay, are you done?
Just a follow-up question, do we have to use this heraldic society? We can do our own, right?
Unofficially, I think, Steve?
It wouldn't be registered through the government. This is actually registered through the government if we want to proceed with this.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Yes, through the chair. Who does this tagline? You know, honoring the past, challenging the future looks good, but who chooses that for us?
It would be something we would work with them for.
We could give some input, I think, to that, sure.
Any other questions or my only follow-up, I know we've been working on this for some time, and yeah, and I guess the complex was that we only have a certain amount of say, but we have to bear in mind that they have to have control because it is coat of arms, so you don't have two towns or cities with the exact same one, so I still like the squirrel on there work, but we'll have with that. Okay.
Also, I think if I just may add, I like the financial investment's minimal, $2,000 to $3,500. If we go through it and the end design is something that we're not really thrilled with, it's not like we have to ever use it. It just now belongs to us, and we don't. If it's not something that's adding value or we feel is, you know, something that we're proud of, then we would just set it aside and not really do much with it. Obviously, we would hope for a very, very good product. But it's not like there would be a huge financial commitment and then a significant obligation to get value out of that, as there sometimes is with other projects.
Okay, something we could probably discuss during our retreat if we wanted to explore it more. Okay.
Well, if I might, I don't think this is an item that really needs to go to retreat.
Okay.
If council just wants to give some general feedback on whether or not they, Steve, what is it that specifically at this stage you're looking?
It's just, I'm just looking for, like, it's not.
Do we continue to pursue this? Is that basically the
really
question?
Fit with their branding right now, but we can adopt our branding to make it fit. So I just want to know if this is something that you guys want to proceed with, and because they're waiting for us now to say, yeah, go ahead and start some drawings.
Councillor Bevins.
No, I'm in agreement with it. We talked to the previous council on that, we liked it. And when you look at other municipalities and that, they have their coat of arms on the letters that are sent out and stuff like this and that. And it just looks professional and that stuff, and I think for the amount of money that we're spending, it's a good deal to have in that. And I know we get minimal say on it, but you look at other ones they've done throughout the area, they're very nice. You look at it and that, they're very nicely done in that. So I think, we go ahead and get it done, have the artists come up, let's take a look at it, and I think, it's something we should do for our town.
Okay, so moving on because we have time.
I'm just hearing the general consensus is that
I
council,
think
Steve,
overall
you're
everyone's in
comfortable with
agreement.
that feedback at this stage? Okay, good.
Okay.
Councillor, I'm comfortable with this price range. I'm not comfortable with more money than that. It's just, that's kind of where I stand on that.
Okay. Okay, there is no F2, but there is F3.1. I'm going to declare a can and turn it over to the mayor if it's the appropriate person. Feel free to make me. Break the place.
All right, so we're going to move on to F3.1, report on waste collection fees. Obviously, this has to do with the change of contractor when it comes to our waste management collection. I'll turn it over to CEO Derek Platt to give council an update regarding this.
Yeah, thank you. So in the change of contractor, one of the, I think we've already seen what we feel is a very, very good level of service. As you may have seen, actually yesterday got an email that all the bins have been delivered in town. It took them only 7 or 8 days to do that in the whole community. So we're obviously pleased with that and very confident that they'll be able to provide a high level of service. If we kind of go back to when we made the original selection, one of the reasons that we selected the previous contractor was that the financials on that were a little bit more attractive. And so switching to this new contractor, there's now some associated changes in the cost. I would just want to add some context here is in the original RFP, the numbers were a little bit closer. There was a few assumptions that changed as we dealt with GFL directly, as you often do once you engage the contractor. They were, in the original submission, interested in transloading the organics locally. As they reviewed that a little bit further, that became not feasible, so they are now transporting the organics directly to a facility near Edmonton. That's a little bit more costly than what they had anticipated, as well as they were hopeful that they would be able to transfer their waste at our landfill, the household waste. But unfortunately, it's not set up to accommodate the types and sizes of trucks that they would use for that. And so they'll be transporting that directly to Hinton at the landfill there, which again was a little bit of a different associated cost. At the end of the day, under that program, as described there, we're recommending about a $4.50 change to the waste collection fee. And then there's some associated information that just helps council to see the comparatives in terms of the cost of these types of systems there. And I think it's worth noting there on the, if you were to look at the graph, that $17 is what our cost would be with the 450 added. That's just for the organics and the household waste. The blue bar there is if we do our best to extrapolate what our current recycling program is costing us as part of our waste management. We've added that there just so we can get a feel for what our waste management program is costing us. I think we see that it's right in line with, in particular, Spruce Grove and Stony Plain, who also have what we call a full 3-stream waste management process. And also in Stony Plain, for sure, they do also operate a recycling depot. So they do curbside and operate a depot. So the point simply being that at these rates, we're right in line with what we see these programs costing in other communities. So it's certainly disappointing because I think one of the things we were most excited about in the transition was under the original contractor, we were going to be able to basically maintain the rates. One of the things that was part of that was reused bins. That ultimately became one of the undoings of the effort. It became really challenging to clean and repurpose those bins, and just didn't work out the way the contractor nor the town had anticipated. But it was going to save about $200,000 to $250,000. So that $200,000 and $250,000 cost is obviously over the life of the agreement incorporated into the rates we're seeing from GFL as they've used new bins. So that's just another reason for some of the cost difference there. So switch to the contractor ultimately is going to be a little bit more expensive. We feel comfortable administratively because it's not like we're asking people to pay more for the same service. With the organics programs and other pieces, we believe that we're providing an enhanced level of service. And also when we do the comparatives, we believe it's in line with other communities in our region and who are dealing with similar programs. But Sarah, do you have anything to add to that?
I think the only thing would be looking at not putting this charge on until January. The budget that we had to pay Campact from May should cover this expenses we had for GFL to the end of the year. So this wouldn't go on any of the utility bills until January 19th.
All right, thank you. We'll open the floor to questions, and Councillor Wilkinson.
Through the chair, when GFL had to end up picking up the used containers, we had to pay for that, I'm sure, for them to take them to get them recycled?
Yes.
So that's covered in the money that we didn't pay?
That's correct.
The original contractor?
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. Any questions? Councillor Byer.
Through the chair to administration. Does anything change with the type of organics that were allowed to be put with the previous contractor to GFL, or is it all going to be the same setup?
Yeah, no, the programs are virtually identical in terms of materials that can be used in the program, and the pickup schedule in terms of every other week for household waste, and then weekly for organics in the summer and bi-weekly in the fall and winter. So the program looks basically identical. Steve, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Yeah, so we're able to basically use all the materials that we've already produced in terms of promotion and education. We haven't really had to change any of those, so there hasn't been additional costs for redeveloping any of those pieces.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bevan?
Seeing as this is going to Edmonton right now, with Hinton there, I've been talking about doing organics too and that, eh? So our prices are gonna change when we're able to go to Hinton with that? Seems we're a member of the board up there and that.
Thank you. Yeah, and we have had that conversation with GFL. That site is, I think, even if it was to go forward now, a year or two away from being implemented. But we have made them aware of that possibility, and that yes, we would renegotiate the cost associated with that should that site become available.
We've looked at a 5-year strategic plan with them, and the RFP went out for it, and then we've hired somebody now. And, you know, we're going ahead with it, so I'd like to, you know, I sit on that board, so I'd like to push them harder than, in the last 10, 15 years, they really haven't moved ahead on a lot. And I think now is the time that this is coming in effect, that we as councils, or reps and that with Councillor Sorensen and that too, we have to, you know, make sure that they want to do this, that they don't fall behind on it anymore, and that we move forward. Now we set our ship up right, and we keep going ahead with that. And I'd really like to just be able to go there.
Yeah. Certainly, the contract would allow us to take advantage of that type of development.
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Through the chair, along the same lines, is there any, can we spend, let's say, $100,000 on our current landfill to set it up so that the GFL trucks can process household garbage there? Like, I'd rather do some improvements locally and reduce these costs than just continue sending stuff where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, thank you. That certainly is possible. Our very initial look at that was that it'd be significantly more than just $100,000, and we haven't done a detailed assessment. Just that I don't think the economics will be especially advantageous as we move forward. But that is something that we considered, and we can continue to look at as fuel prices and other things can impact those costs significantly. But yeah.
Councillor Curry and then Councillor Bevan.
Through the chair. So are these prices then, this is just an annual contract? Like it's a 1-year contract? How does that work?
You know, the current proposed contract would be for 5 years with an option to extend it for 3 additional years.
So would we be set in on this price at for 5 years?
I believe it's a 2% increase each year as well. Yeah.
So just how would that then affect if we did something like saying next year we wanted to do the capital to improve the landfill? Would that not be able to change these prices for 5 years then?
Yeah, we do have some abilities as suggested with the potential adjustments at the Hinton landfill site. If there was an organics facility to become available, we do have the ability to have that conversation again, and I would suggest the same if we were to approach an adjustment at our landfill. They would very much prefer to do it here rather than drive it to Hinton, so I think it would be a mutually beneficial opportunity to discuss that, and the contract does allow for those conversations.
So we're not locked in.
Yeah. Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, when I was at AUMA that one time there, we'd kind of talked about this with other people and that, and I can't remember the minister's name now, but I had mentioned that if we could put organic site out there, and they had said that because we're so proximity close to the airport, the birds and everything else would really be a deterrent to them putting it out there. If we were further away, you know, a 5-mile radius sort of deal, it'd be a lot better.
You're absolutely correct. We are not considering any organics processing at the Edson site, primarily due to the issues with the airport, and that's one of the things we had to adjust from GFL's initial submission. Is they were interested in doing some transloading, but there was nowhere that was practical far enough away from the airport that they could do it. So, but yes, we're certainly aware of that, and are not currently considering any organics processing or transloading in the Edson area.
All right, seeing no further questions, just say that sometimes you get what you pay for, and I think that we've seen with our new contractor definitely a higher level of professionalism. I've been able to get the bins out within 7 days instead of 3 months and only having half of them delivered. So I'm happy to see that, and I think what I'm hearing from the public is they're very excited about our organics program, and that's a testament to the hard work that our Recycling Society has done on education as well as our town as well, and Mr. Bethgy's efforts, and I'm looking forward to seeing it going forward. And if we can hold off on increasing fees until January 1, I think that'd be a positive thing.
Yeah, and if I may add towards that another reason we're wanting to hold off on the adjustments is at retreat it's our intent to discuss how we handle the recycling fee in terms of whether or not there's interest in transitioning that to part of the utility bill, as it is part of our waste management program, and that will give us time to have some of those conversations as well. And we thought it was interesting once we tried to include that here, just to be able to see that the recycling service that we currently do have does have a cost to the community and to the residents, and so we want to follow up that conversation, and that gives us time to do that ahead of January as well. So if we're going to make those changes, they can happen all at one time.
Okay, sounds good. Councillor Curry.
Just a quick question: if all the bins are delivered, is there any chance the service is going to start before September?
No.
I thought I'd help for all those
I believe drivers are currently getting trained on the
yeah. So there's a few other logistical elements, and we briefly discussed that, but I think one of the elements that we ran into last time was trying to jump ahead before everything was properly in place, ended up causing more problems than it solved. And so both GFL and the town have said, no, let's just make sure everything's there. It gives us a chance as well, if there's some residents who happen to have been missed their bins, we can get that all sorted out and just make sure we're 100% ready to go. The program is scheduled to begin the first week of September, Monday, the long weekend. They will be doing their first waste pickup on that day, and we'll be doing obviously plenty of communication between now and then with the new because the routes will change somewhat, and so between now and then it gives us lots of time to make sure people are as aware as possible of the schedules and what's coming. So.
And any residents that still have the old can pack bins can contact
the town and or GFL, and we'll make them disappear.
Okay, sounds good. Councillor Bennett?
Just comment here, Mayor. I do like this here. I know that they have GPS the whole town, and they set out the bins. The bins all have numbers on them, and the vehicle I was following behind took the number and the house number off the bin and everything else and put it there. So if anybody says they didn't get it,
yeah, the bins are all associated with specific properties and their serial number to track, and so we have we're very much appreciative of the level of information we've received from GFL in terms of also as they were delivering the bins, we could or picking up organics. The last time we could show where the trucks had already been, and so it's we're very pleased with the service so far and are excited to get that going again.
All right.
I'd just like to say comment to the students that he has used. I've talked to different people in town, and students that he used were very friendly. They stopped and talked to you. They were helpful and everything else. If they were asked to take bins up to the house for a senior or something like that, they did it. Kudos on the students that came out and done it. They've done a fantastic job.
Councillor Byer?
Through the chair, a question, just following Councillor Bevan's comment. So if the bins are tracked, so each whatever bin belongs to which household, is it just for that purpose, or are they able to track like if they're scanned each time, like how much weight the bins would be, or if there's improper things in the bins? Is that another reason why they're...
Yes, I would say yes and no. Okay. They don't track the bins for weight or anything like that currently. It is possible, obviously more costly for some of those mechanisms. But if there's a problem bin, we can know which property it's associated with, and that does help. It also helps in the event of a damaged or lost bin. You can't just grab your neighbor's bin and it become your bin, because we know which bins belong to which properties and those types of things. Those problems, they're not common, and no one's really in the market for another garbage bin. And so we do have that ability, in particular because the The town, and ultimately it's our intention that if the bins are lost or damaged or destroyed, it'll be $100 charge to replace them. And so it'll be nice for us to make sure we know which bins belong where, and that'll be helpful if that situation does arise.
All right, thank you. Councillor
Well, I would
Wilkinson.
just hope as a council that we could have it relayed to GFL how pleased we are with the service that we've had so far.
Absolutely.
I will be happy to do that. Certainly administratively, we've been very clear on that, but I will make sure we pass along that council has seen and observed the quality service that they've provided so far.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll hand the meeting back over to the deputy.
That's yours.
Okay, moving on, financial, so F2, and that will be, who's bringing that forward?
Sarah?
Sarah, thank you.
This is just a revamp of the policy that was brought forward to another committee meeting for the financial disclosure and accountability policy, taking into account the feedback we had from council. So we just amended that draft and just if there's any more feedback or questions.
Councillor Sorensen.
I mentioned in July I'd like the opportunity to, when we do give funds to an organization, to earmark it for a specific project. I don't know if there was, maybe you guys discussed, administration discussed that and decided not to go with that.
Yeah, thank you. We did have that conversation and determined that generally speaking that should be handled through the mandates of the organization, but once the funds are given to the organizations that we would remain hands off. And one of the things we have asked is for council to be, council reps to be more present and more involved when those decisions are being made, and so we felt that was the more appropriate stage for any project related discussions to take place was at the societies or groups themselves.
Get you done. Councillor Wilkinson.
All right, I just have trouble with number 1 and number 2. In number 1, it says that council rep must be present and be able to vote. Then definitely that puts the onus on us that we have to be there, because we really can tie an organization for a month if it happens that your council rep's not there at the time of voting. And in most organizations, you can't just hold off for a month because someone doesn't attend a meeting. I think if you can't be there, then someone from the town should represent you or something. You have to have somebody there. And on the next part with that audit, you're saying that if a group gets, say the Historical Society, gets their books audited, then they need to have a different auditor come, but just audit the money that we give them.
Sorry, through the chair to council.
Go ahead,
What
Cap.
that independent meant was that if one of those organisations has someone, an accounting firm, doing their books for them throughout the
Right.
year,
Mhm.
the audit must be done by an independent firm, not a second audit, but just if they use one firm to do their books throughout the
Right.
year, the audit must be done by an independent, different firm.
And
But
that's-
not all of their books, just the part that we give them, because really it's none of our business.
Through the chair, I just think it would be difficult to do an audit on just our money that we give an
Yeah,
organisation.
they make the budget and just keep it just for that. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Certainly, the policy as it's written does not make that distinction, but
I know, and I wish it would.
appreciative of
I
the
wish it
feedback.
would.
Yeah.
Actually, on that, for the town, unless I'm mistaken, does not the same firm that does our books does our audit?
No.
No, I do the books.
So we
Okay.
do our own financial transactions
Yes.
throughout the year, and then they come in and review them
They
to
only-
ensure they're in compliance with all our policies.
Okay.
So that's where I think we're just trying to make the distinction between if they're actually acting as their internal bookkeeper,
Yes.
then they can't also audit because they would in effect be auditing themselves, and that's just not a generally accepted
Yeah, I think we
situation.
answered it. Councillor Curry.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm okay with the changes. I think that's why we have alternates. So as long as it's just a councillor rep has to be there, then I think there shouldn't be a problem. There should be a councillor rep at meetings. And also, I do think it should be all their books, because I think the decision of how much we give is based on, if you've nonprofit or not nonprofit, if they have a lot of money in the bank, then I'm not comfortable with the town continuing to give them lots more. I don't think that's a good use of taxpaying dollars. So I do think for us to make decision on how we give money, we do need to know their whole financial situation. We don't need to know so much how they're spending it, but we need to know the whole financial situation to make a decision on the funds we give.
If I may just add one piece
Yeah,
too.
go ahead.
While it's a somewhat technical term, I don't want it to be lost. The policy reads material financial, so that is a definition that each organization would have to set an amount of something that is material. For example, $75,000 for the town is material. So it would, anything underneath that amount wouldn't, if you just need to pay a small transaction or a small invoice, that the intent of this is more for larger capital purchases or passing of the operational budget or significant expenditures. That's what we're targeting, not the general operation of these organizations or group, because I appreciate Councillor Wilkinson's, it's a balance between obviously disclosure and accountability, but also we want to be as practical and functional as possible, and so it's a balance between those two elements.
I'll let Councillor Byer go, and then Sorensen and Wilson, because you have not spoken yet.
I have to say I agree with the changes. Like Councillor Curry said, we have representatives, an alternates, and then if that was unavailable, I'm sure another council member could also come, which has actually happened in other committees. And I think the auditing part is great for us as a council, as well as I know when I'm on the library board, when we did our audit there, it was a really strong tool for the board and extremely helpful for the board to understand their questions. So even if, although council will gain information about it as well, I think for the boards themselves, I think it's extremely important for them to understand the financial situation as well, not just us.
Okay, if there's something new, then it's Councillor Sorensen and Wilkinson.
Yeah, just further to previous comments, I agree that there are backup councillors ready to go to these meetings, and like you said, Mike, that these votes are on capital budgets, major decisions, not on month-to-month spending, where administration on these boards are usually approved to spend certain amounts anyway. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most accounting companies won't audit themselves if they're the bookkeeper. So it's not like we're asking something.
It's part of their professional standards.
Right.
They cannot. They cannot do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm in favor of this.
Okay, Councillor Wilkinson and then
Okay,
Curry,
through the
if
chair to
there's something
Councillor
new.
Curry then, like when the Historical Society operates as a tourist booth as well then, so that part also will have to be included in this audit? I'm just like,
It
the
is.
cost of everything to me is just
It's
sort of redundant.
their whole budget is, included
Okay,
in the
well,
budget.
we gotta get some in order,
Okay,
so yeah.
I'm finished.
Okay, Curry and then the mayor.
The only thing I saw on this though, and just don't know if this needs to be in the policy, through the chair for Sarah, is just in that audit requirement, we did discuss that if there was an additional cost, that would be added to financing that we give to them. Does that need to be in here
Respond.
somewhere?
I don't think it needs to be in the policy. I think council is presented with their funding requests, and council
Okay.
will make those determinations as they do every year. And so we will certainly communicate that we are recognized and understand, and I think council has said that they recognize and understand that may be reflected in their budgetary requests from the town.
And that will be communicated to the organizations. to make sure
Yeah,
that-
but I also I'm not sure it needs to be in there, because I don't think we need to necessarily mandate that. I think it just
Okay.
should become part of the regular budgeting process.
Okay.
Okay, Clerk,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to Councillor Wilkinson's point, I know that in particular, the Historical Society, everything is audited by, I think it's Stan that does theirs, if I'm not it's the other firm in town.
But I think most
But
of them
they-
do their own books and then they get an
Yeah,
audit, which is
Yeah, so
similar to us.
the audit covers
We have
everything.
to order what you.
He was talking about this, so I was speaking.
The audit covers everything, and I think that the changes here are really, really good, especially on point one where it says any material financial matters. So, and if there's a budget being presented at a board meeting and a councillor can't make it, then I would strongly suggest that councillor would need to ensure that their alternate or somebody else is attending, including myself. So, I'm in favor of this, and I think that if we can get this through the system, that'll give time for the organizations to prepare.
Yeah, if I may just add as well, right in line with the final part of the mayor's comment. It is our intent, obviously, both, well, 2 of the 3 organizations that this will affect have suggested that they need into September to review, and so this will then be sent to them for their review, and then council would not be asked to pass a finalized version until the organizations had had a chance to review and provide any comments or feedback. Then we bring that back for council to consider before final passing of the policy.
Okay, is anything new? Just Councillor Bevins, you have a comment on this? You haven't commented, so if not, it's fine.
Oh, I did, but I read something here and
So you're fine?
I forgot.
Do we have any more questions or concerns on this? It's handled, so we will move on to F3, Report of Transparency Council Expenses. That would be you, Sarah, again?
That's me again, yes. This is just bringing back the report that I think we had at a committee meeting months before, looking at putting the council expenses online. Michael amended the form so that it's basically sort of every meeting is in one. We used to have it where we had every single item for each meeting, and it got very long. So we've just merged now those 3 items into per each meeting. So this would be like the final draft of what would go up on the websites for each individual councillor, and then also one for general council expenses as well. This will require a change to the travel and hospitality policy, which we have in the agenda there, as well, just the addition of that phrase stating that we will be putting our quarterly report on the websites.
Okay, do we have any questions, concerns for this?
Happy it's happening.
Okay, I would just comment on, I mean, this is slightly different, but I mean, for years, we've always had what a total cost of a councillor, so I believe the only difference, it will just break it down so if the public has questions, we can, like where we have a copy of the mayor's, which is nothing wrong with it, it's very transparent, so our council ones be very similar to this then?
Exactly the same.
Okay,
Exactly
perfect
the same
then.
as that, yes.
Okay, I don't think I have any questions, I'm very happy with that too. Now, we're moving on to no public works, no G, no sundries. I believe questions, comments from the media, if I'm reading this right. Any
No, thanks.
questions? None?
No, thanks.
Okay, and yourself?
I was sort of curious, you sort of covered it a little bit, but what's really the point of having a coat of arms?
What would be the point? Steve or Mike, or actually Mr. Mayor can answer this.
I think coat of arms really does bring a level, and I think Councillor Bevan made this a level of professionalism when you're sending official documents. It makes the town look a little bit more official,
Okay.
especially when you're dealing with other levels of government or those sorts of things. So I think that's probably the thinking behind this when this was first brought forward. Most municipalities do have a coat of arms, or they're moving in that direction in order to show that this is an official organization, and this is really will bring a level of professionalism.
Yeah, if I may add to
Yeah, go
that,
ahead.
formality, I think we want to also recognize and remind ourselves of the serious nature of what this body is responsible for as an order of government, as well as the permanence of a coat of arms. It's something that will theoretically be in place throughout time, and so I think that is for us one of the big pieces is that piece will stay with us even as the logo that we see here changes through time, and it also allows us to make a distinction between some general communication, which we would put under our brand of the day, versus the more formal communication that might come from council through the mayor.
Okay, just for information, Steve, right now we have no official coat of arms, correct?
Correct.
That's exactly what I thought, so just for information, yeah, we
Okay.
don't have one. Okay, any other questions from anyone in the audience? Go ahead, sir, like if you have a question, present your name.
Glenn Kaufman, and just a matter of information, first of all, in terms of the chart that was shown for the waste management.
Okay,
I believe the information is not entirely correct on that chart, either based on the math being different than math that I use or information being different, but the averages shown there are not correct. The calculation that I have for if you use Edson in-house, the average would be $19.11. And if you use the complete all-inclusive average, it would be $21.09, which would put Edson significantly above the average.
Okay, I believe, Sarah, you can answer that question.
I refer this to Michael. He prepared the chart and got all
Okay.
the information, the averages, not necessarily including everything that's on there. So maybe if Michael can explain where we got those averages from.
So the averages don't include the Drayton Valley because theirs are not included in their monthly fees. Oh, sorry. The monthly fees for Drayton Valley, they don't have any, so that's why it's at 0, and they're not included in the average because they don't affect, they're not monthly fees. They're not, the residents of Drayton Valley aren't being charged for that.
Drayton Valley you're talking about?
Yes, theirs are done by taxes completely. They don't have any user fees for their waste. They are included in the monthly fees average that people are charged.
I think
So
as well
it's a little
the.
misleading then to
Okay.
put Drayton Valley on the chart. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you. No, and I think the average of 2714 does not include Hinton because their service is not an all-inclusive service. Is that accurate as well? So I think that may be the discrepancy that you're encountering as you do that. So I do recognize what you're suggesting there, and some clarification I think helped there. But that all-inclusive fee is only for those communities that are providing organics and all three, or organic? All three, thank you. All three: organics, recycling, and waste collection. So.
Okay, does that answer your question? You have another question? Because I'm sure
Yes,
you can.
I do have
Go ahead.
another concern, and that is just in terms of the philosophy for services for waste management. And I raised this issue with the town last week. I received the garbage receptacles and didn't know for sure what was going on, so I stopped into the office here and they indicated that this new service was in place and that it would be of no cost to me, no additional cost, which I said is not true because at the present time I don't have any cost. Well, I do have approximately $4 a month for taking things out to the landfill. And so I was a bit taken back by that and a bit concerned. My wife and I recycle, we compost, so we have very little garbage. And so this is an increased cost for us.
Just a question to clarify, where do you live up on the Grand Prairie Trail then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because
No
that's
water, no sewage.
something that we're working on. The annex has been a long time, so I'm sure administration answered the question, but that's something we've been working on. So in a lot of stuff, what's gonna be passing that everybody in the town, if you're a resident, it's like anyone else, you all have garbage service. So that's something we're working on, so I can understand what you're saying, but that's something that'll, as it's phased in the rest of our annexing that's been going on for many years.
Okay, and I can understand too, like if the town provides service for everyone, and some will use it more than others. And so those that use it less will subsidize those that use it more. So I think that's a philosophy of the town, and I support that. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
And so I would pay I will, obviously, I was told by the town I'll pay whether I use the service or not, so I'll accept that. But then, and this is not to follow up today,
Yeah.
but I've also written a letter to the town regarding sewage and sewer lines.
Yeah.
And
So what I'll do is I'll hold you on that because the question pertaining have to be to this meeting. We have received it, but I have to stop you because we're only, whatever's on the meeting. And if you wish to address council in the future, then get on the agenda and we'd be more than happy
If
to
I may
answer
just
your
say,
questions.
that is under review and we will be communicating with you.
Okay.
my point is that
Yes.
philosophy should apply to.
Yep, no, I understand where you're coming from, so I believe we can bring this up at a future because we have received it and I believe administration has followed up.
I think
There-
we
there will be a
received this well
report
over
on
3
that.
years
Yes.
ago. from the same
Yeah, no,
individual.
but this doesn't do the meeting. Do you have any other questions regarding this meeting? I'd like to thank you, sir,
Other than
for
to
coming.
commend you for the transparency and accessibility that
Yes.
you do provide, like in websites and that kind of thing.
Perfect, I got it. Do we have any other questions now in there? So then we have an in-camera coming up, I believe, is the next one, so. Do you have a question?
No, she's voting.
You're gonna make a motion to go in camera. Okay, Councillor Byers.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Have the
You'll stay in
conversation.
and I'll get
Yeah.
yours, 'cause you're making.
Everything's giving you the thumbs up.
Okay, motion to adjourn, Councillor Byers. All in favor? Carried.